Hi, I'm Michael. Thanks for joining me today. I replaced two timer switches in a bathroom, and I thought I'd give you guys a video of that and show you the timer switch. I know that's a big thing nowadays where timers and dimmers are a big thing right now in renovations and your update of your home. And I hope you learned something. Don't forget to there's three wires. You got the black, white, and the green or the bare copper wire. Just remember that black is hot, neutral is the white, and then the ground is the green or the bare copper wire. And then also make sure you read the timer specifications and installation instructions, and that will give you some heads up too, because every one I open, I look at the instructions, make sure that I do it right, because everyone's a little different. All right, thanks so much, and don't forget to like and comment below as you watch the video. Thanks. Okay, so I'm in the bathroom now. This particular bathroom has 4 light switches. The 2 outer ones are controlling light fixtures, and then the inner 2 is where I'm going to be putting the dimmer switches. And I recommend after the dimmer switches are installed, you test everything out. So right now the breaker's off, so there's a flashlight to show everything. And I had to take off the other 2 outlets because I needed to know where all the wires are going. And so this particular dimmer switch, or excuse me, timer switch, this timer has a larger body than a regular switch. And then there's, it looks like 4 or 5 different wires hanging out, coming out of the actual unit. This is where I recommend going to the manufacturer's installation instructions, because that will get you to know exactly what wire you need to plug into each other. So just remember that the white goes to neutral. This particular wiring situation had quite a few white wires tied into each other, so I had to use multiple different wires to hook up. So what I did was connected, I think there was 5 or 6 different wires I needed to connect, and so I jumped the power from one connection to the next to accommodate for what I needed to do. And I think both timers together only took maybe 45 minutes max, maybe an hour. It wasn't too long. It's just trying to figure out what goes where. And so in this particular one, the current one I'm working on, I believe, is the ground. And so that one I had to jump as well, just like the other neutral white wires. And so I actually had, I think, 5 ground, 5 white, and the 5 black ones I had to tie in together. And then the ground also had 5 or 6 wires too. So what I like about these the push-on connectors, you just push the wire in, and it holds the wire, and then you're able to maneuver it and push it back into place where I don't need it. And then I was able to stick out the 2 white wires for the actual timers. And at this time I already connected everything, so I had power for both timer units. And so I'm just reinstalling the light switch there, so it's out of my way to do the timer. I had to use wire ties to install the timer switch, because the timer unit wires are braided, and so it wasn't a solid wire like the ones in your house or in the wall here. And so I turned on the breaker here to test everything, and this was a timer that had 10, 20, 30, and 60-minute timers. And then everything works and functional. And so now I'm going to be turning off the breaker again so I can install the other timer switch. So I'm just testing, make sure the power's off, making sure which one's, I'm making sure which one's hot before I turn off the breaker, so I know which wire to put into the hot wire for the timer. And as you can see, I purposely left the other timer out of the wall so I could have access to the wires that I'm going to be installing the next timer. I believe the yellow wire on my timer is for a three-way, and so that one's going to be left alone, and I'm not going to have to hook up into anything. So technically, you have three wires in a normal situation, and this one's just a single pole circuit where I had the white, black, and green, or the bare wire for the ground. So I just read the instructions, hooked up everything per those instructions. And like I said before, you want to make sure everything's working before you stick it on the wall. And what I like to do as well is, especially when I'm using a braided wire, I like to wire tie, twist the wires together, and then kind of do a yank to make sure everything is secure, that things aren't going to fall apart when later on down the road. So everything's working, so I'm putting everything back together. One other thing to think about is previously I was installing a kitchen lights and I couldn't get them to work, and the reason why they weren't working was because one of the wires weren't completely twisted into the wire tie. And so the reason why I like to tug on them is because I make sure that they're very secure, and that's not going to fall apart when I get everything back into the wall. Because that's just, especially a light fixture, you don't want to put everything together and have to retake everything out. So just remember, before putting all the switches or devices back into your wall, to test everything, making sure everything's working. And it's not a hard thing to do. It just takes time to do it. And then pretty much thinking the whole time when you're doing it, because you don't want to cross wires or do something to blow a breaker. And so before putting on the plate, I kind of make sure everything's even, and tighten everything up and make sure everything is spaced correctly. I try to put the switches at the face of the plate. Oftentimes that doesn't happen because the older wall installation isn't correct or something like that. Maybe the wall's uneven at certain spots. But this one, it seemed like it was okay as far as installing it back to flush with everything around it, the switches and plate. Okay, so there is the switches and timers, and now I turn the power back on. I'm just testing everything, making sure things are working properly before I install the plate. And these little screws, if you are not 100% lined up, then they're not going to install very well for you. And these screws are a standard head, small size. Don't over tighten them, because you don't want to strip your screw heads. Sorry about the paint can there. You're just trying to match the paint color to the touch up. And there you go. Alright, so those timers weren't that bad. Probably took me about 45 minutes or so to switch those out, and they work really well. Sometimes there's two different wires I have to switch back and forth depending on your wire configuration, but it's one of those trial and errors. If you do swap them, just make sure that you don't button everything up, put them in the wall until you test them out and turn the power back on. Alright, thanks so much, and don't forget to like and comment below, and please subscribe to my channel, and then I will start posting a little bit more stuff. And please comment below too if you have anything that you want me to show you. Thanks, and have a great day.